What's up guys, this is Wenzes. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about personal development for INFJs and how to create an epic life on your terms. Today we're debunking 3 INFJ stereotypes that nobody really talks about. We're gonna look into the stereotypes of INFJs being lone wolves. We're also going to tackle the questions, do INFJs really have to give up their integrity in order to be financially successful? Do we have to choose between being a holistic INFJ who wants to help people, who chooses their integrity, or is the only alternative to say yes to capitalism, to say yes to being completely all about greed and not caring about any other factors that are so important for us INFJs. And the third stereotype we're gonna analyze today in detail is the one that we INFJs are by far the most underestimated personality type. Before we get started, I want to remind you the next bootcamp starts this Saturday, May 22nd. A lot of people have already signed up, so this is your chance. Join us. We are creating an INFJ epic life together. All the information you find in the link below. So, the question of INFJs being a lone wolf. This is a topic that is talked about so much. And either people say, yes, INFJs are an alpha, I did a video on this, but it comes from a place of, okay, what does alpha really mean when it comes to wolves, for example? And in that way, you actually see that alpha isn't the leader, as in, they do everything and they are the ones that everybody's listening to, the natural leader. An alpha in the animal world is more like a prophet. It's more like somebody who has an idea, who says where everybody's going and then everybody's following. And of course there are a lot of discussions on this because there's of course the other type, Sigma, which comes a lot more natural to what we believe the INFJ is all about. And this is somebody who goes by their own drum, who says this is my path and I'm not gonna make any exception for anybody. This is my thing and I don't care if I have to be alone for that. So in a lot of ways, if you look at it from that perspective, of course we fall into the stereotype of a Sigma. But does that mean that we have to be lone wolves? Does that mean that we have to spend our life feeling like we're not connecting? Because in the end, let's face it, no matter what kind of personality type you are, in the end, you're still human. And as a human, we all have the need for connection. Everything else would be a complete lie. This is a human need. This is subconscious. This is psychological. There is no need to tell ourselves continuously, oh, I'm a lone wolf. I'm just made to live this way, because we believe that that's the only way to go through life. The thing that is in our mind that is making us go to this place is that we think, what is the alternative? The alternative is I have to play by society's rules. I have to pretend I'm somebody that I'm not in order to fit in. That's the only way people are going to accept me. And because that's the way it's going to be, I'm going to choose to be a lone wolf. I'm either going to make statements that everybody's going to dislike because I actually trigger people with that, or I'm saying, okay, why even try? There's nobody out there for me. I'm going to be different, so I just become a hermit and I just become somebody goes through life by themselves. We as INFJs have to take under consideration that yes, our way of thinking is different than the majority in the world. That has nothing to do with the fact that we are just this 1%, because even the type with the most percentage, I think it's the ISTJ, it's not like they're 40% of the population. If you divide 100% by 16 types, no percent type really becomes that big. But we as INFJs have a very unique way of looking at the world, and that way is not represented in mainstream media, in mainstream news, in mainstream what is considered normal, what is considered admirable, what is considered to be interesting. Nonetheless, this doesn't mean that this world doesn't exist. This is a huge world and it's becoming more and more popular. Why is that? The reason for this is because the way our informational world, internet, has developed, it's not just about there's this one truth everybody has to live by, and then people who fit in, they do, and everybody else has to just accept that. Nowadays, it's not like we have these 3 TV stations and then you either like A, B, or C, and that's all you get offered. Every single experience that we have through the internet allows us to have a completely individualistic approach to it. If I watch a certain channel, that doesn't mean that another person who watches the same channel has anything else in common with me. The same thing applies to absolutely everything we do in the world. What things we consume, what things we don't consume, and this isn't just about media. This is also about what kind of products we want, what kind of lifestyle we choose. There is not just this one thing that everybody wants, and then everybody else is sort sort of like left outside. Thankfully, that's not the case anymore. So what has become normal and is becoming more and more normal is the fact that we all have an individualistic approach to our world, our reality. And with that, we actually have everything in common with everybody else. Yeah, there might be people out there who have 3 or 4 things in common with each other, but still, in the end, we all have the right to choose individualistically. And because we can do that, we can make our world fit us. So what does that have to do with the fact that INFJs are lone wolves? The point is that we, in a lot of ways, don't want to give up our integrity. We don't want to play by other people's rules. And maybe 30 years ago, this meant, okay, I need to actually give up being part of the tribe, and I have to feel abandoned. I have to deal with the fact that I'm going to be all by myself. Because for us INFJs, giving up our integrity, giving up who we really are, is just too big of a burden. Other types may be way more conformative to society because their need to be accepted is much higher than it is for us. These are things that are happening in our mind, the way our brain is structured. Certain types have different things that trigger them way more than, let's say, an INFJ, and vice versa. But nowadays, we don't have to be lone wolves anymore, because it's important that we recognize that this isn't something to be admirable. Very often we tell ourselves this story because facing the fact that, okay, I would want to have a community around me, but actually nobody likes me or nobody understands me or whatever kind of story so many INFJs tell themselves. Really looking at that story, accepting that story, confronting ourselves with this story is just way too painful. So we're not going to do that. And then we come up with the story of, oh, okay, I'm just going to look at the stereotype of being a lone wolf. I'm going to go through life by myself and I will have to enjoy this the most I can. So don't get me wrong. Till this day, I'm still not somebody who has hundreds of friends in her life. I still have a very small group of friends. I have the people that I trust. I have the people that I connect with. But, and that's the difference, I don't expect to get my needs met by this one person or by 3 people. I know that the way I can connect with the world allows me to get different needs met. A lot of my needs about abstract thinking and the metaphysical world, I can get met through this channel. I can get met through talking to other INFJs, through seeing that I'm not the only person seeing the world the way I see it. That yes, we do have things in common. We connect through this. The same way, I don't expect my friends to be everything. Before, because we felt there is no other way, and I've experienced this even 10 years ago, I had projected so many of my hopes onto my best friend or my partner at that time, because that person had to be everything to me. Because with that person, I could allow myself to be more of myself. I would actually be willing to give up so much more of myself, because that's the only way I could get any kind of feeling of being connected. But that's not the case anymore. And it's about time that we recognize it. We can still live our life in peace, in harmony, and saying there's a space around us that is just for me. I'm not going to allow anybody to come that close to me that they can hit this part of me that I want for myself. This is for me. I'm going to create peace and serenity here, but I'm still going to connect with people on different things, and that allows me to feel fulfilled. We don't have to go through life thinking that nobody understands us, that nobody can connect with us, and that we are just plainly weird. That's just not the case. With the internet, thankfully, we get the opportunity to connect with each other all over the world, and we recognize that nothing in this world makes you all alone. There's not one thing that only you experience. Yes, your complete human experience, your experience as you, of course, that's completely unique. But guess what? That is that way for every single person on this world. But what we have to recognize is that we can get our needs met. We just don't have to look for one person, one group, or one circumstance to make all of this happen. We create our INFJ epic life, and it happens through recognizing that we have different ways how we can make those connections. We can connect with somebody who makes us feel alive. We can connect with somebody who makes us want to succeed. We can connect with somebody that we can talk to in all depth that is is not possible for us to talk to any other person that we just mentioned. So this is all possible. I've lived it. I see it in boot camp. I see it with my clients over and over again. We can't choose this. INFJs don't have to be lone wolves. And as long as we tell ourselves that we have to accept this and hold on to this, we're not allowing ourselves a life that makes us actually feel more free and having to give up even less of what we think we have to give up in order to feel connected with people. It's all possible, and I'm so glad we're in this society today, right now. The second stereotype is about INFJs either choosing their real happiness, as in I'm going to be full of integrity, I'm going to follow my beliefs, I'm going to help people, or I'm going to go that route of making money, playing by society's rules, not doing what is in my heart. Those are the only two ways to go. And so many INFJs choose the first one because they say, okay, the second one isn't going to make me happy. But what we completely misjudge so often is that in our mind, this first road means we're going to be poor, we're going to be misunderstood, we're going to be undervalued and underappreciated. We're not going to live that INFJ epic life I'm always talking about. These are the things that we feel are the only two options in the world. And I'm here to tell you that's not the case. Because if you feel like the only thing you see outside of you right now is this capitalistic way, you see people buying things to impress people that they don't even care about, you see people that are all greedy and don't really care what they're going to do with that. If that is what you see, then this is because you have chosen those kind of people around you. Now, let's back up here. I'm not making you responsible for this. I'm not saying that you're doing this on a conscious level. Of course, society makes us go this direction more and more because in a lot of ways, this is what we get presented with. But that does not mean that a third world doesn't exist. Of course, there are millions of worlds, not just those 2 or 3. But, like for this example, there is a third world. Now that I've been doing this business for years, I surround myself only with people who believe the same way I believe, that we can have both. These industries are huge. Industries where people are staying in integrity, where people are helping others, where they're creating something better for the world, they're re-energizing themselves and others, and they get to live in freedom, in peace, in security, and be financially well put off. These worlds exist and they grow immensely all the time. This has a lot to do with our first point actually, because through that connection that we get to live with in our current society, in our current state of the world, we can connect with so many people that want what we can give. But in order for us to get to that point, we have to start valuing what we give to the world. I have given this example a couple of times, but I'm still going to use it now. Imagine you are an amazing painter. Your paintings really make people feel alive. They look at them, they get really mesmerized by all of it. These paintings are incredibly well done. But you live in a world where you believe the only thing that matters is accounting. That's the world you grew up in, that's the world you know, and you don't care about the fact that your paintings are that great. Similarly, how we don't care about the fact that we know how to tie our shoes. Maybe it's because we all know how to tie our shoes, or at least most of us, but you creating this painting is something incredible. But still, in your eyes, that doesn't matter. In your eyes, that's just like a little hobby. It's not something you can make money with. It's not something that matters. The only thing that matters is that you can create these spreadsheets that are without mistakes, which allow you to make more money for another company. Let's say this is the stereotype. And until you recognize the value of your own painting, and you, because of that, say, I'm going to put my painting for sale. I'm going to say this painting has a worth of $5,000, $10,000, whatever it is. I'm not in the art world. I don't know how this works, but that you define this because you say, I believe in the worth of this. If there's somebody who sees my painting, who has the financial means to buy it and to look at it and to say, this painting gives me that much more value to my life. Because I look at this painting, I feel more alive. Of course, this money is worth it for me. Because they do this, you can use this money to create great things in the world. You can create more freedom for yourself, you can create more peace, and you can use this money to help others. You know how many philanthropic cases there are in the world, how much money is spent on helping people, making the world a better place, and you can do that too. You don't have to decide that you can either be somebody who makes it all about money, or you're being somebody who's all about about integrity. So you might say, well, but that is like way too much money for this painting. Yeah, but nobody really questions if the fashion industry exists, if the industry of really expensive cars exists. Who gives value to this? If you would look at a Monet, what is the real value of this? If you would just look at the material, we're talking about a couple of bucks here, right? I mean, what is it? It's canvas and it's a couple of colors on it. But still, people give it value. So it all starts with you. If you don't give value to what you get to offer this world, and this is not just about you being a painter, this is about how you see the world, how you inspire others, how you live your life. And it's not about starting a business or that you have to give up being in a corporate world, although this gives you security. Remember, when I started my whole journey, I actually also applied for a better paying job. I went up the hierarchy of the career path of this typical worldly thing, because through that I grew. It showed me more and more what I was capable of, what I could do, and at some point I switched. But this is my path. This does not mean that you have to quit your job. This does not mean that you have to have a career in order to feel successful, in order to be happy. But I'm just here to tell you, you don't have to make that choice. You can have all of it if you want it. You can create that INFJ epic life. The way we live our life right now makes it possible. I've done videos on this like 5-6 years ago where I said this is the best time for an INFJ. The future looks more than bright for the INFJ because it's tailored to us. It's tailored to the way we want to see the world. We can make so much happen in this world because there aren't those rules anymore. Those unspoken rules that you feel like exist, they exist because we're so connected to what is going on in what we currently see in our environment. The more you're willing to step out of that, the more you will recognize that, of course, these things existed at any time. They were here. They were here yesterday. They were here last year. But we just weren't looking this direction. Start reading more books in this area. Start watching YouTube channels who are more about this. Buy products that are going in that direction. Allow yourself to develop into this person who believes the value of what they give to the world. That in itself will change your life. And now let's get to the third stereotype, which is that INFJs are the most underestimated type there is. I have to say, I don't believe in this at all, and I'm going to debunk this stereotype right now. Because we always feel like, okay, we have these great ideas. If we would put these ideas into action, they would create immense things. And we as INFJs have grandiose ideas. We're not about, okay, what am I going to eat for breakfast tomorrow? We're all about, okay, I'm changing the world. I can make these kind of shifts. I see what can make an impact in people's lives. We know all of that. But what so many INFJs lack, and I consider myself as one of those persons who lack these things by nature, is the fact that it's hard for us to make it reality. That does not mean that we can't do that, but that we have to consciously, continuously choose to make steps in order to make that happen. We as INFJs don't have the power to do all the things. We don't have to. We have to do the right things, but therefore we have to cut out a lot of our life that is not in alignment with who we want to be. So what does that have to do with being underestimated in comparison to other types? Well, let's look at other types. Maybe they don't have these big ideas, but they have the willpower. They have the strength. They have the capacity to wake up in the morning and to work on something from morning till evening without stopping. So they might say from their perspective, yeah, if I have something, I will pull through. I will make it happen. We, on the other hand, say, well, I have the idea. It's just like making it real isn't really what's going to happen. It becomes and it stays an idea. Both of those types aren't making their dreams real, aren't creating something amazing. Because the one type that might be able to work and pull and do everything that is necessary is lacking the vision. And we, on the other hand, who have this great vision, aren't really pulling through, aren't really making it happen. So this, of course, is just from a perspective of two types who don't make it happen. People who don't say, okay, I don't care about if I'll ever reach it, but I'm going to start right now. Both types can do that. The type who's all about being a workaholic, who is all about, I know what to do, I have the strength, I'll make it happen, I'll pull through. I may not have all the ideas, but because I do so much, something will trigger something in me. Something will be the right path for me to go. That's maybe the right path for that type. For us, it's a different path. For us, it's saying, okay, just because I have an idea, just because I have a vision, it doesn't make it any better than somebody who doesn't have that vision if that vision only stays in our mind. In order to create something that creates value to the world, we have to put it outside into the world. Of course, it starts with our thoughts, but then it's about taking action. It's about making a small step happen. It's not about creating this thing that's going to change the world. It's about taking the next right step. And so I believe that yes, we have these great ideas and these great visions, but if we go through life thinking that we are completely underestimated and it's other people's fault that they do and that they don't appreciate us, we're not going to be able to move forward. We have to admit to ourselves that yes, we might have amazing ideas, but we still have to work on ourselves. We have to find the bridge between the idea and making it happen in reality. One of the things that INFJs are amazingly good at is tenacity, is holding on to a dream and taking step by step. We have to work on this. This is why I've been doing this for all these years. I'm not just helping you, I'm also helping myself. With every single thing I prove to myself, this isn't about the end result. This is about how I feel today and what I made happen today. And I do that because I don't believe that I'm more underestimated than other types. We all have the same chances in the world. All of us. And unless we believe it, we're not going to get to a point where we say, I have to give all I have in a way that makes me feel like I could do this forever. I'm not talking about being on burnout. I'm not talking about you working from morning till evening. That's not necessary. But it's necessary to push ourselves in such a way that makes us grow. Because only then we can create something that proves to us that we can make our vision happen. Because that's the other thing. People are always going to underestimate you. And I'm not just talking about you as an INFJ. I'm talking about absolutely everybody. How often do you see people like, let's say Jennifer Lopez. People for years say, you can't sing, you can't act, you're not going to amount to anything, you're not a good actress. We're not talking about the fact if that woman would be able to win an Oscar, but the point is, this is still somebody who has been able to be in the competition, beat out 99.9% of everybody else, and make it to the big screen. And still, people think she's not good enough. So I'm just here to tell you, it will never stop. Yes, maybe you're the favorite of society and everybody thinks you're amazingly smart and capable and whatever it is, but there is no such thing as you will reach this one point where people will stop underestimating you. Because the only person who knows your potential is you. And it's not about proving to other people that you have that potential and that you can make it happen. It's on us to prove it to ourselves, so we don't care if other people underestimate us. Remember, if you want to work on all of these things, then join the INFJ Epic Life Bootcamp. We have a payment plan. Once you're in the bootcamp, you get access to all future rounds. It's an amazing experience. I love it. We get to help each other and grow, and the results are just mind-blowing every single time. Also, if you want to watch another video now that is in alignment with today's topic, then watch the video on the line mentality of the INFJ. Like always, guys, I wish you a wonderful day, a great week, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.